questions. First up, we got Avend, who says, new question for you there, Frankie. When running cold outreach with a certain niche, I can only get my hands on so many personal emails. The list isn't great, meaning I will burn through it fast. Do you think it should be sending to other niches as well? Rich says, Frankie, quick question. I'm looking at the referral partner approach, focusing on Facebook group owners right now. Would you recommend keeping it as a separate strategy, asking for permission to post content in their space? Since the referral partner strategy is all about doing giving without asking for something in return, I feel like requesting to post content after doing something for them would be the wrong move. Last one we got is Artyom, who says, I have a question, Frankie. Have you run offers that are entirely commission-based for lead gen? I mean, completely commission-based. It would mean no retainer, and we pay for the ads, then charge the client for the lead provided. This sounds like a very seductive offer in my head. Obviously, there's a lot of risk on my side. Bad idea. I believe there's something on this in the book, but the memory isn't fresh. Welcome back, everybody. Another Agency Owners Q&A, our weekly Q&A. All you guys are asking smart questions. I'm doing my best to give halfway decent answers. You never know how this will go, but I'm trying out here. Appreciate you guys for all the tuning in and all the awesome comments you guys give. This is super fun for me to see you guys here and just sharing your business journey. I feel for me the first 10 years. I really didn't know very many people doing this, and so it's a real blessing to be able to actually talk about this shit day after day when I felt like I had nobody to talk to about it for like a decade. I shouldn't say nobody, but very few people. So anyways, quick little announcement just before we get rocking and rolling, which is that I've got a link, by the way, for working with me. I've organized the different tiers. If you guys would like some additional help and support with growing your agency, we got a fast start program for those of you guys who are in the 0 to 10K range trying to get there and stay there. We also got all kinds of courses and trainings and all kinds of various things you're trying to do. We got an agency mastermind for those of you guys who are scaling, and have now just very recently released a special thing for those of you guys who want to get some extra one-on-one help. So anyways, I won't say too much about that other than check out those links when you guys got a minute, and let's get into the good stuff. Well, actually, before we do my spiel, I made this baby, our weekly Q&A jam, shitty dance music. There we go. Shenanigans. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Frankie Fihn proudly brings to you our weekly Q&A. Cole says, Frankie flashing dad gang signs again. Joni says, jobless as a graphic designer. Well, my dude, you get to create your own job in this world. That is the magic of it. So I know that probably feels very unfortunate. I'll tell you, when I couldn't get hired in 2007, it definitely felt like a curse and not like a blessing. It actually turned out to be the biggest blessing of my life because it was the first time I couldn't go back on my entrepreneurial dream because I really had no more plan B. It just wasn't there. So had to make it work one way or another. When that happens, you suddenly just find a way. So I hope you find a way, my dude. Anyways, let's get into the questions. First up, we got Avend, who says, new question for you there, Frankie. When running cold outreach with a certain niche, I can only get my hands on so many personal emails. The list isn't great, meaning I will burn through it fast. Do you think it should be sending to other niches as well? I mean, you can, but I would say no. Just, oh, by the way, it's doing this thing where it doesn't refresh comments. I can see it says number of comments. I can see that you guys are making them, but I can't actually see what they are. So I guess I will have to respond later. So anyways, Avend, firstly, there's a tendency to think, like, especially I see this more in cold outreach than anything, that more automatically means better. Let's just send more messages rather than going deeper with a person. So, like, I want you to imagine, like, business is relationships. So I want you to imagine a guy at the bar who goes from girl to girl and goes, hey, do you want to fuck? And then she says no. And then he goes to the next one and goes, hey, do you want to fuck? And she says no. And then he goes to the next one and goes, hey, Like maybe he goes for a relationship. Hey, do you want to have a relationship with me? And if he does that long enough, he's going to go through the bar and he's going to say, oh, there's nobody good at this bar, and I burned through the list. Well, that is how most people approach cold outreach, just so you know. And I think it's actually a relationship building thing. And I think there's a guy I was looking at his system in the high level community named Ross, and he followed up with people in cold outreach for months, and also made those valuable, and he also mixed in ringless voicemail and text messages as well. I don't know about the legality of text messages, although I believe because it's business, it's a different animal because than if you're texting end consumers. Don't quote me on that. I am not a lawyer, and I do not play one on TV. Anyway, so there's a tendency to think that your goal is send messages one time to 1 million people, but it's actually to simultaneously build relationships with as many people as possible. By the way, the people who do cold outreach the best, they never stop emailing the people they're interested in working with. And they try and do it in a way where they're actually giving value. Here's a free training. Here's a book I did. Here's some referrals, or here's some like testimonials and things like that. But what they don't do is they don't just like constantly fucking find a new list and find a new list. I'm not saying you can't be successful with hey, do you want to bang in a bar? But like, why? You just make it harder on yourself doing that. So I feel like, hey, if you burn out the list, go back to it a second time and a third. And there's a tendency to think you can't do that or you're being pushing and annoying. So if you can actually make your outreach an extension of value where you're giving something in the form usually of ideas, and do that, what you're going to find is you can go back to those people. Having said that, if you want to go like build another list, go for it. But I would say this is the thing. People automatically think more instead of how do I do better with the list I already fucking got, right? So there's my 2 cents on it. Is most people go, they walk around the bar one time, ask every girl to bang, and then they go, okay, I'm going to go to the next bar. Instead of going, how do I actually cultivate a relationship with somebody here, right? And the cool thing about business, it is like polyamorous. You can have like 45 relationships at the same bar. So think about doing that better instead of like constantly jumping to the next thing. Personal opinion. George says, how do you structure your work time when traveling? For context, I'm studying abroad in Spain until April. I'm finding it difficult to stay consistent with my work because there's 43,000 things to do and even more people trying to find you to do them. What's your solution to this? I don't know if I necessarily have some brilliant solution. I will tell you I relate to the struggle of when you travel and like your schedule just gets thrown like a big fucking curveball and you don't know what you're going to do with it. What I found is there are essential pieces in life. So for me, like I like some me time. I need some like time to just straighten the fucking hamster wheel. So for me, like ideally, I like to do that first thing in the morning. But having said that, when we like travel to say Hawaii, Ilka and I spent several months in Hawaii. Like often, by the time I wake my ass up at like 9:30, 10 o'clock, it's already like 4 p.m. on the west or on the East Coast, and people have been like messaging me asking for stuff. So I found when I lived in Hawaii, I would take my me time later and get just straight to fucking work the second I woke up. Probably wasn't the most ideal thing, although you live in paradise, so you deal with it. Flip side of that is I found when we were in Germany, from like 9 till 3 o'clock, none of my American clients were even awake. So there was no fires to put out, nothing to do, things like that. So I found for us that it made a lot of sense to just like have slow mornings and take our time and play with the kids and things like that. So what I found is like when you travel a lot, there's probably like 4 to 5 pieces that you want in life. So like time to figure shit out, time to execute on things, leisure time, fun time. It's like a puzzle and it changes where you go. And almost always I find there's like a 3 to 4 week transition period where you're trying to make sense of your new fucking schedule and like how things are. And then eventually you kind of like find a routine within it, especially if you stay in a place for a period of time. Also, I want to mention, I see you guys dropping comments. It says 6 comments, but I don't fucking see them on my end. So I'm going to have to talk shit about you guys after. But that's basically it with travel is like, just expect that for like 3-4 weeks, your shit's going to be all wonky and then figure out like, you know, like just what do you want? Usually there's like 5-6 pieces, like I said, 4, 5, 6 pieces you want. Like exercise, maybe for example, like where do you schedule exercise in a typical day? And you will eventually settle in a routine, but also allow for some spontaneity and some fun. That's totally okay. That's part of the reason to have this business. It's not to always be in front of a laptop, but to like, you know, Go see fucking Spain in your case. So anyways, I'm just saying that's my experience. I know that's probably not the greatest answer, but it is what it is, my dude. Nestor says, good morning, everyone. I'm running 4 campaigns targeting different niches. My deliverability ranges from 50 to 60%. I'm having a huge issue with positive replies. I tried making my copy shorter, 2 to 3 sentences, added trigger CTA, and adjusted my offer to be more appealing, but the results haven't improved. Would love to have someone look over my campaign over a quick Zoom, tell me what can be improved to get better responses. I had asked you for an example of this to kind of go deeper on it, but since I have not seen the specifics of it yet, I see a lot of people's messages, I see a lot of people's ads, I see a lot of people's content, and I can see where a lot of it goes off the rails. So I'm going to give you guys some general places to look for when your campaigns aren't working, okay? Like where? So the first flashing sign is you say, I'm doing this in 4 niches and I'm trying to do the offer. Right. The biggest piece missing from most people's offer is what I call meaningful specifics, right? So like if I say to a plumber, we're going to get you more qualified leads. That ain't specific. I know that may sound specific to you, but that's nowhere near as specific as we can get you line or new construction line jobs so you never have to get neck deep in shit ever again and get them to you for $100 to $150 a lead depending on your market, right? That's meaningful specifics, okay? So if the first thing is if you're messaging 4 different industries, you're probably just not specific enough. You're probably literally just saying nothing. It sounds like something to you will get you more leads, more sales, more customers, blah, blah, blah. The same shit everybody else says, but it's probably not specific to that particular person in that particular industry. So the first thing is, is it specific enough? Probably not, just so you know. Second thing, I get pitched a lot. I'm now mildly internet famous. Yay me, right? So part of being mildly internet famous is I get pitched a lot. And actually, there's a real benefit to being pitched a lot is you can see what works and what doesn't because, you get to see all the shit everybody does trying to win you over, right? So I get, 5, 10, 20 pitches a day, every day, right? It varies a little bit in amount, but I get them every day. And one of the things that I'll tell you gets you deleted faster than everything is when I can tell that you are sending a copy and paste mass market automated shit to everybody, just blasting spaghetti in every direction, hoping some of it sticks at the wall. And there's some dead giveaways in the language. First is, I hope you are doing well. Don't say that shit. Everybody says that shit, right? So hope you're doing well, blah, 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 blah. And then they just launch into some generic copy and paste pitch. So I'll tell you what has worked for us to stand out from the noise is personalization. Talk about them. Sounds simple, but nobody does it. I'll tell you why this matters, by the way, because say in Gmail, for example, I can see the subject line and I can sort of see a 1 or 2 sentence preview of what is in the message. And if it just says, I hope you're doing well, generic bullshit, that goes delete. I don't even open that and read that. Flip side of that is if somebody says, hey, Frankie, I was checking out your book, Beyond the Agency Box. Shout out to Lana for getting me this awesome t-shirt. But if it says something specific to me, about me, and I call this naming their baby, right? If it says something about my business, my thing, that at least gets read. So I'm telling you guys, most people gravitate to how do I send 10,000 messages when you haven't even fucking gotten one right, okay? So let's talk to them about them, which leads into the third thing, okay? Too many people, when they do this, they talk about themselves. They do not give a fuck about you, and they never will. And how this shows up in language, we, I, our company name. If you start sentences with those, you're talking about yourself, and no one is going to care. We are a blah, blah, blah. Our company does blah, blah, blah. I am a blank, blank, blank. I saw your thing. I noticed you. I blah, 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 blah. They don't fucking care. So talk about them and their thing, right? So if you're talking to an e-commerce store that sells weight loss pills, talk about the fucking weight loss pills, right? If you're talking to a law firm that sells personal injury cases, talk about the personal injury cases. If you're talking to an online coach who's got a $5,000 coaching program, talk about the $5,000 coaching program. It sounds simple, but I'm telling you, I see a lot of messages and most people do this fucking badly. Fourth thing I see that'll cock block your progress in this, okay, Most people misunderstand what the point of cold outreach is. It is to start a sales conversation, not to finish it, right? So what happens is what most people do is they vomit like what I call like a complete buy my shit pitch in its entirety. And what happens is then when it doesn't work, you can't calibrate where you're missing the mark because you don't have a conversation, right? So to me, the point of message one is just to get them to say, interested, tell me more. That's it. It's not to, like, I think a lot of people think they're supposed to ninja hurl the credit card at you, and instead they're just supposed to say, tell me more. Which leads into the next thing is what most people are asking for as a call to action is what I call bridge too far. The last two things are actually both bridge too far. Bridge too far is when you're trying to do too much in a message. So for example, you say, hey, let's jump on a quick call. Everybody knows your call ain't going to be quick. Well, if I just got an email from you and I have to jump on a call with everybody who fucking requests, like literally if I got on a call with everybody who requested my time, I would not even be able to complete them all in a week. Like it would be like carrying over, spill over to the next week. All of them just so I could jump on calls so you can sell me your shit. So you're asking for a bridge too far. So what I look for in message number one is that they can respond in 1 to 3 words just to say, I'm interested, tell me more. That's it. And the whole point of that is because just getting them to respond at all is half the fucking battle. So if you ask them, if what it takes for them to respond is, yes, I want to jump on a long-winded call with you, you're asking, that's a far bridge to go. You got to have your messaging and shit really dialed in. As if you're just saying, just if you like to know more, just respond more, right? 1 word, 4 letters, M-O-R-E, more, send. Now you got a conversation going. Now you can say, okay, I got you some details. Can I ask you a little bit about your $5,000 coaching program? Can I ask you about your weight loss pill you're trying to sell? Can I ask you about the personal injury cases you're trying to get? So you're always talking about them. Always, 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 always. So without being able to look at your campaign, it's hard to say, but I'll tell you, like, those are some of the things people miss. Is like I said, they're talking about themselves. It's not personalized. It's auto spam to everybody. And then, as I mentioned, the offer itself should be an easy to say yes to offer that, again, is a small bridge, not a bridge too far, a small bridge. What we would call in the marketing industry a micro commitment. You're not trying to get them to make a macro commitment and buy. You're trying to get them to micro commitment and say, I'm interested. You can go somewhere with I'm interested. You can't go anywhere with no response, right? So anyways, those are some principles. It's hard to say the specifics without looking at your thing, but those are probably the biggest thing. And then, like I mentioned, people just missing the meaningful specific. Again, I'd like to reiterate that I see that you guys are leaving comments, but they don't refresh in my feed, so I'll see them after. Artyom, cool name by the way, says, question for y'all. What size tickets do you market for your clients? Is there a service or product you advertise for them for 3, 4, 5 figures? I keep overthinking this point, thinking that advertising service that is 2 to 3K one time cannot get me any clients that pay decent sums. So I see this kind of like variation of this question in a lot of ways. And the nicest way I can say it is you're thinking about the wrong person, which is you. And you're thinking about the wrong thing, which is your service. How are people going to pay me? How can I do this? And almost always, it's more about finding the right person and then bringing monetary value and ease of that monetary value to that person, saving them some time and energy in the process. So what I mean by that, okay, like let's say, for example, you do Google ads. I don't know what you actually do, but like you do Google ads, okay? Let's say there's a tiny little truck stop restaurant in Frog Balls, Arkansas. So they agree to work with you as a client. That's your first client. Now you have a second client who has a chain of 75 restaurants that are in and around like 4 or 5 states. Let's say 5. They got 75 locations across 5 states. Okay, exact same Google ads. Which one of those people do you think you're going to make more money for? Clearly, it ain't going to be the fucking truck stop, Frog Balls, somebody comes by once an hour restaurant. It's going to be the 75 location deal, right? So too many times people think about how much I could charge The biggest variable in what you can charge is who you do it for. And so focus on people that are already have a lot of traction that you can add to, and there is no limit to your pricing. Like, we have people in this group, just so you guys know, in this fucking community right now, you know how much they charge for local SEO? $70,000 per month for one client. Right? So that's like almost $1 million a year with one fucking local client. Local, we're not talking about a national brand. We're talking about a local business, right? So a lot of you guys, part of you guys go, how could I charge for this and that? Well, the big reason they're able to charge $70,000 is the client they're doing it for has a lot of activity, it has a lot of traction, and therefore adding SEO to it is valuable. So it's a better question to ask, who is it most valuable to? And I wrote about this in my book. The easiest way to do that is find somebody who's already successful and help them sell their most expensive thing, what I call the $100 bill. And almost always, your monetary value in doing so will be off the fucking charts, motherfuckers. Off the charts. Okay? So that's how you do it. But don't get hung up in thinking about what could I charge for, what would people pay me for? Because exact same service, 2 restaurants. One's going to pay you next to nothing. The other is going to pay you $30,000 a month without batting an eye. It ain't the service. It's the who you do it and the problem you're solving and the value you're bringing. So think about more about who is the easiest person for me to bring monetary economic value to. Anyways, there's my rant. Hope that's helpful. Anonymous. Anytime you guys are anonymous, I assume you are pantsless. This may be a dumb question, but should you focus on building client experience systems first before client acquisition if you're bootstrapping your agency? Feels like a chicken versus egg problem. Well, listen here, Mr. or Mrs. Anonymous. It is not a chicken or an egg problem, okay? It may feel like that, but I'll tell you, this is a common thing I see getting people stuck who are in the beginning stages as you are, and you may want to consider our agency Fast Start program, which I am still building out as we speak, but it is getting more awesome by the day. Details on the document below, but just so you know, okay, there is a tendency for beginners in general and people starting out to think, I cannot take step 1 until step 2 and step 3 and step 4 and step 5 are perfect and already resolved and everything is ready to go and everything is hunky-dory. And then when it is all correct and it is perfect, then I will begin step 1. Okay? And that is a recipe to never do fuck all. Okay? Being real with you. Right? Like, I know. So here's what you must do. Okay? The first thing you have to do is go get a client, because there is no client experience without the client. What may be useful in that process is to have a clear picture in your mind of the immediate 3 or 4 steps that you are going to take after they say yes, even if you have not yet completed those steps. So, for example, one thing that is useful to think about is payment link. How am I going to take payment? Another thing that it is useful to think about is onboarding. What information do I need from them to get started? How am I going to get access to that information? Another thing to think about, my first action is going to be blank. What is in that blank? Do you have to have finished that action or have done that onboarding or even created the payment link? No. But you have to have a clear picture in your mind of what you're going to do. So, to your point, like, you don't have to like sit and wait and get all these things perfect. You just have to have a rough idea of what it is you're going to do, so that when somebody says yes, there is no need to think about it. And I'll tell you, like, somebody who had an influence on me, a friend of mine, she told me I was kind of slacking on the exercise front. Like, and I'm not like one of these dudes who's trying to get like mega shredded, as you guys can tell. Like, I'm an old dad bod, but I wanted to be healthy and do like 15-20 minutes of exercise a day. And I found myself just constantly forgetting and not doing it. And what she said to me was, plan it the night before so that when you wake up, there is nothing to think about. And so I didn't have to do the exercise the night before. I just had to have a clear picture. All right, tomorrow's leg day. You're going to do some squats against the wall. You're going to sit against the wall and in squat position. And so when I figured out what I was going to do and I didn't have to think about it, it was much easier. So to your point, do you have to have everything done? Like, beginners often think, I will begin when everything is perfect. And here's the fucking reality of it. Nothing is ever perfect. You start despite it, not wait for it to be perfect. And perfectionism, by the way, is a reason to delay and not do shit. And I think deep down, most people who are trying to get things perfect are secretly afraid of succeeding and are avoiding it and avoiding it and avoiding, which is a real thing, by the way. I think I spent the first 5 years afraid of succeeding, like hardcore. But I say that to you because it's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be all done. The only way you can get it perfect is by refining it with the client anyway. So your definition of perfect is the wrong one, right? You need like them to tell you what is perfect. So that's my point saying, build it, go get a client, quit being a pussy about it, stop making excuses, and go get one. And if you want some help, check out the Fast Starters program. Anyways, next one, we got George, who says, hey, I'm starting to do the things I've been putting off for 2 years. Sales. Need to reach out to people on LinkedIn and connect. Does anyone have a go-to strategy process to get people to reply and book calls, etc.? Firstly, George, I would reject the assumption in your question that says, I need to reach out to people. No, you do not. Okay? So I did a video on this, and there are actually 6, 7, depending on how you want to look at, ways to get clients, and only one of those things is to cold outreach and DM motherfuckers. So if you want to go that way, I would suggest you check out Scott Crease. He has some really awesome stuff. He's in our group here. I will happily tag him for you on getting through to people on LinkedIn. Having said that, no, you do not have to do outreach. I know everybody says you do, but there is other shit in the world besides one-to-one messaging people. Second way, you can do paid ads and bring them to you. Crazy idea. You're selling people ads, you can advertise yourself. I know, wild world we live in. Third thing, you can do content. You can publish stuff. By the way, just so you know, you're looking at it. I make a lot of content, and you know what happens? People message me. I don't have to chase them. I put the content out there. Whoever resonates with it comes to me, right? If you do content like regularly and consistently over time, people will come to you, right? So there's no rule that says you have to message people. Number 4, you can network, especially for those of you guys who live in a big U.S. city. Like, this is low-hanging fruit. Go to a local meetup. Go to an event. Go to a BNI meeting. In fact, you can piggyback on conferences that are in your area without buying a ticket because they all meet up at the bar afterwards. So, like, say there's if I'm trying to sell attorneys and there's an attorney event, or I'm trying to sell plastic surgeons and there's a plastic surgery event, like, find out what time they get out and go to the hotel bar the moment they get out, and they will come to you and they will just assume you are part of the conference and you can network with people. And this is how you network, by the way. You give them valuable ideas, and then if they want your help, you help them implement it. Crazy concept, but it works. So, networking. Number 5, you can publish stuff in other people's audiences. This is my favorite way of doing it. This is what we teach inside of the Wolfpack. This is what we have tools and systems to help people apply, because it's just faster. It's faster. And you get trust in the marketplace. All right? So, and then the last one is you create referral partners. By the way, the reason I like to start with audience owners, because they make the best referral partners, because they already know all the people in your industry. But having said that, how do you get people to refer to you? It's simple. You help them first. You help them first, and ideally you help them in a leveraged way. So meaning, you do something that takes you 10, 15 minutes tops, but it's highly valuable to them. And then when they say, hey, is there anything I can do for you? You say, yeah, I want to know some people. So for those of you guys who followed along with the 90-day challenge, one of the things I did in there is one of the industry associations. I noticed they posted an event they were doing, and then they posted it one time. And I know as somebody who's like been behind the scenes in like legal, especially selling events, that you got to post about your event again and again and again and again to get people to do it, because like there's just a lot of hurdles. There's flights and hotels and booking time off and shit like that. So I remember one of the things I did, I went to ChatGPT, I fed them the event page, and I said, help me come up with a 30-day content calendar about this event. What can I talk about? It said, well, each individual speaker could be a post. Their topic could be a post. It said, the testimonials, each of those testimonials can be, the venue can be a post. How do I get there? What kind of food's going to be there? What kind of networking? What are they going to take away from the event? And so I had it write a 30-day calendar, and I said, okay, write all the posts. Took me about 10 minutes. I wrote 30 days worth of social media posts, dumped them into a Google Doc, and gave it to them and said, here, I did your work for you. Go sell your event. And they were like, wow, this is amazing. What can we do for you? And I said to the guy, well, if you know anybody looking for websites or SEO, do you mind just sending them my way? Now, here's a guy who knows 30,000 contractors in the industry. Do you think he knows anybody? Of course. So he sent me a deal that afternoon. We had a $6,000 website sale about 10 minutes later. I know maybe like an hour and 10 minutes later, being real with you guys. But it wasn't super hard to do, right? We contributed to them, they contribute to us, right? So, and then the seventh way, which I'm not a big fan of, so I sometimes omit this one, is job sites. Upwork, Fiverr, shit like that. I feel like you get people bidding on the cheapest shit, but you can definitely get clients from those places. I don't think you get good clients, but, occasionally, you may get a Hail Mary and get an awesome client. So, there are the 7 different ways. One-to-one messaging, ads, content, networking, audience owners, referral partners, job sites. So when people say, I need to do outreach, do you? Do you? I know everybody teaches in our space like you have to. I don't think you have to at all. In fact, very little, by the way, of the 7-figure agencies that I know in my world, I would say less than 5% of them got there with outreach. It's taught as the most popular strategy in our space, and it's actually the least successful at scale. Think about that. So I'm not saying it doesn't work, but this is what everybody wants to know about. So I'm answering the questions you guys are asking. So having said that, how do you make LinkedIn work? You find the right people. That's like 60% of the battle, the people spending money. You personalize some shit to them. You give them ideas to help them with their thing, and you make it very easy and short for them to go, I'm interested, tell me more. That's it. That's how you do outreach, period. And chances are you're probably going to have to repeat some messaging because not everybody is seeing your message. That's a whole other topic in and of itself. I have clients, by the way, who've told me that for about 15, 20 straight years, they get 100 cold outreach messages per day, every day. So I want you to think about that. That's 100 a day is 36,500 messages in 1 year, and they've had that for 10 or 15 years, which means they've had 500,000 messages before you sent one. And then people go, well, I sent a message and nobody responded. They probably never even fucking saw it, right? They never even fucking saw it. So I think most people underestimate the actual task you're up against and how hard it is to stand out when your message 500,001. This is why I like to zig when everyone else zags, because everyone else is going, oh, send cold DMs, send cold DMs. And I'm happy to show you guys how to do it, but I think there's only fucking 3 dozen better ways than doing it. But having said that, Scott Crease has got the magic formula specific with LinkedIn, so check out his stuff. Rich says, Frankie, quick question. I'm looking at the referral partner approach, focusing on Facebook group owners right now. Would you recommend keeping it as a separate strategy, asking for permission to post content in their space? Since the referral partner strategy is all about doing giving without asking for something in return, I feel like requesting to post content after doing something for them would be the wrong move. So this is a smart question, my friend, and this is a strategic kind of question. By the way, I should mention again for those of you guys who are just jumping on, Facebook doesn't always refresh the comments, so I see that you guys are leaving them. It tells me how many there are, but I don't see them, so I'll respond after. So anyways, to your point, Rich, when you want to create referral partners and work with audience owners and in your case, people who run Facebook groups, you have to be able to think strategically. And most people in our space are severely handicapped by the fact that they only can think tactically. Tactically is you try one little thing, and if it doesn't work you go to the next thing. Strategically is when you use things that work together. Okay? So real relationships, by the way, are strategic and not tactical. So for example, I used the story early. The guy who goes around at the bar, he sees every girl in the bar and he says, hey, do you want to sleep together? Okay? If he does that enough times, maybe there might be a girl who's willing to do that, right? Who knows? But having said that, it's not really a smart approach. And when it doesn't work out, there's nowhere to go. Real relationships are often strategic. You might have a conversation. You might get to know each other a little bit. There might actually be some back and forth messaging. You might go on a date. You might hang out. By the time you guys either get married or sleep together, there's a lot of stuff there are multiple steps that went into it. And so what most people are doing is trying to constantly shortcut the steps instead of engage it. So the first thing, to your point, with an audience owner is I look at the 3 steps. And this is how I look at everything, escalating relationships in business. Coffee date, first date, marriage. Coffee date is usually like a quick, valuable thing that you do that is for free and not paid. First date is let me do a small version of it. And marriage is let's do this ongoing. So, for example, the reason you're going after audience owners is because you want to finish at marriage where they sell your thing for you to their audience. Well, that's a hard first step. If you're thinking tactically, you're probably not going to get there because you're going to go, what do I say to get them to promote me to their audience? And they're probably nothing because it's too much of a reputation risk for them to promote you, because if they recommend some shitty stuff to their audience, they're going to suffer. People aren't going to trust them. They're not going to buy from them, etc. So where you want to begin is a coffee date. And a coffee date for most people is help them with their thing. This really throws people off because you're not trying to publish content in their audience. You're trying to help them with their thing. And so almost always those people who have communities and things like that, they have their own content that they are already publishing. They may have a podcast. They may do a webinar. They may have a blog. They may have a YouTube channel. So my first thing to do is not how do I get them to promote me and sell my stuff, is how can I help them with their thing, but do it in a strategic way where it leads into my thing. So for example, one of my first moves is if they got a podcast, I'd say, hey, I got a cool idea for a podcast episode we can do together. And understand that obviously I'm going to sell and promote my thing on their podcast, but first I'm going to deliver value and be useful to them and their agenda. Why? Because they're trying to create a podcast. So you serve their agenda first. The second thing I might say is, hey, I'm looking for somebody who I can do this service for. Do you know 1 or 2 people? If they know a lot of people, of course. Like if I go to a restaurant owners community of 10,000 and I say I'm looking to do this for 1 or 2 restaurant owners, do you know anybody? Of course the fucking community owner knows a restaurant owner or 2. How could they not? Right? Like they got a whole community of those people. Right? Like if somebody came to Frankie and said, hey, Frankie, do you know any agency owners that do SEO? None. Can't think of anybody. No, I know 1,000 people that fit that description. Right? So anyway, I say that to you because the goal isn't to try and get them to, or try and publish their stuff in their audience. It's to get them to publish you. It's to get them to endorse you. And the way you do that is you win them over slowly. First, by serving them in their audience. Second, by, hey, let's do a small little paid thing with one of your people and let me show you this works. And then if you want, I can do this for everybody. And what you're doing throughout that process is you're making them look cool to people, right? So the goal isn't how do I publish my stuff? You don't even want to publish your stuff in their audience. I see this in my group, for example. I have a couple of people who publish stuff and they do it on their own and I'm happy to let them. But because they don't come to me and collaborate with me, what ends up happening is nobody knows who they are, right? They're just another name and face in the crowd, and so it doesn't work the same. So part of what you're also trying to do is borrow their credibility and authority and their influence over their own audience, right? Like I can remember doing this in a Google Ads group that we acquired a while back, and I remember the first time I made a post in there, nobody cared. I'm just another dude. And then I co-created an interview with the audience owner and shared some valuable stuff with their audience. And literally the next day, everybody knew who I was in that group because they saw me alongside the top person, right? So the goal is to collaborate with them. And the secret of this is you get to borrow their authority, their reputation, their credibility because you guys are doing shit together. So hope that clears the mud a little bit. But you're asking the wrong question. How do I go publish my stuff and their stuff? No, how do you serve them and their audience and then do it in a way where it strategically leads into you? Coffee date. Do some free, valuable ideas. First date, let me do this for 1 or 2 of your people. Marriage, let's do it for everybody, right? That's the formula, basically. Avon part 2. We got, I think I missed one, actually. Where'd we go? I saw one with George about. There we go. Okay, we're gonna just move that out of order because I'm gonna make sure not to miss this one. Where did we go? Here we go. So I'm just copy and pasting my questions here. George says, anyone else find it hard to give a shit about the industry they're in? Well, I'm going to tell you, George, this is the surest sign that you are in the wrong industry if you do, like, literally don't give a fuck about anyone. Now, I'm not saying you have to be madly in love with your niche. You do not. But you should have a level of empathy, and I'll tell you why this matters more than anything. It's for the selfish reasons, not because you have to care. But, for example, if I decide I'm going to work with dentists, then you better believe that for the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years that I serve that audience, I'm probably going to have a lot of conversations and talk about dentisting and dentistry and patients and problems and gingivitis and dental implants and, you know, insurance and all those kind of things. And if I just really don't like talking about those things with those people, it's going to be a long 5 years. Ask me how I know, by the way. This was my experience with plastic surgeons. I actually felt like when I did plastic surgery, many of the women, maybe not all of them, but a large percentage of them, I felt like went into the plastic surgery and they looked worse. Like some of these bitches had like, you know, duck lips. They'd be like, they'd come out of plastic surgery with these giant duck lips. I'm like, I never really felt good about selling that. And I never really liked the doctors. And so you can grow that kind of agency, just so you know. I've done it. But every day feels like pushing a boulder further and further and further and further uphill. Whew. So, can it be done? Of course. But having said that, it's a lot easier when you actually like those people and like those conversations. So, interestingly enough, sometimes you find empathy where you don't expect to find it. For me personally, I remember when I first started talking with attorneys, like everybody hates lawyers and they're considered the scum of the earth. So I thought, you know, like I'm probably just going to hate lawyers like everyone else. And I remember lawyers would say interesting things. And one of the things they said is they said, well, firstly, nobody understands what I do. Clients don't appreciate me. I have a bad reputation, like I'm an asshole because I'm a lawyer. People want constant updates, which stops me from like actually doing the work. There's all this office meetings, bureaucracy and politics and shit like that. And if I could go back in time, I wouldn't do it. Well, I thought about my shit and I was like, man, clients don't know what I do. Nobody appreciates what I do. They want constant meetings and updates, a lot of meetings, politics, bureaucracy, shit like that. And I had real empathy for them and gave a shit. So I think at the very least you should have empathy and you should optimize for, if you like work with your hands, work with fucking contractors. If you like online business, work with fucking online businesses. Not for the reason that you're going to be madly in love with them and like develop like this deep empathy like I care so much, but rather because it's the kind of conversation that you want to have. Like the first person who has to be happy in your own business is you. Like if every day you wake up and you have to talk about plumbing and you fucking hate plumbers. I found for that reason, like personally, a lot of the trades I couldn't work with because these are internet hands. Like I've never had like a real fucking like backbreaking labor job. Like I don't know how to fucking work. I know how to use my brain and spreadsheets and shit like that. So I found that like when I worked more with like office-y types, I just understood them better and they understood me better, right? So I didn't mind having that kind of conversations. I had a lot of empathy for those kind of people. Flip side of that is, you know, I'd have like, you know, some of these contractors would be like, man, shit, me and Doug, we went and got drunk with the boys last night. We haven't followed up with any of the leads you sent, Frankie, but I promise you we gonna get to them today. And I would be like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? And I hated those conversations. And so it was better for me to optimize around like office-y kind of people than work with your hands type. For you, it may be the total opposite, or maybe online business, or SaaS, or coaching, right? But you got to optimize for shit you want to do. Otherwise, by the way, and the biggest reason people don't do this is they have a belief that there are good and bad niches, and so they have to choose the right one or you won't make any money. Here's the thing nobody really thinks about. Every niche has money, or there wouldn't be a fucking niche. Right? It's about aiming for the right people within the niche that have money. Every day somebody tells me my niche is broke, and I can Google it in 2 seconds and show them you're wrong. You're wrong. There's somebody making a lot of fucking money in your niche. Just not you, because you're aiming for the broke people. And this is a thing. Like, a lot of people aim for broke people in niches and then think everyone in their niche is broke. And it's just your aim is off. Right? Like, if I go with lobster, or if I take boxed macaroni and cheese, which I grew up eating a lot of in the ghetto, just so you know, I got a boxed macaroni and cheese and like a 40 of malt liquor, and I go to the ghetto and I say, does anybody want some of this? Don't be surprised when broke people show up, right? If I go to the country club and I'm like, I have lobster bisque with shaved truffles, $100 worth of shaved truffles on that motherfucker, don't be surprised when rich people come through. Right? So often it's not the niche that's the problem, it's the aim within the niche. People are like literally talking to broke people about broke people problems. When you understand that, just any niche can work. Just pick the right people within it and pick the niche you want to go after. But don't, for the love of God, try and pretend to care about some shit you don't. Because you just won't. Again, it can be done. You'll just be pushing the boulder uphill. There are a lot of days now, like I love you guys for real, where I wake up and I think, I can't believe I get to do this shit. Like, this is unreal to me, that I get to, like, get paid to do this shit. Like, this is, like, I would talk about this shit for free. Anyway, all day, every day. So, like, what's not to like? Anyway. So, I hope that gives any of you guys permission that are in the wrong niche to go for the niche you actually want to work with, that you're worried doesn't have any money. Yes, it does. You're just probably not aiming at, you're not calibrated to the right people. All right, Avent, part 2. Not very often that I post anything anywhere, to be honest, but I felt like I had to do it. So today I just snapped. I've been going over literally everything that I've been doing lately regarding client acquisition. I can sure say that something is not how it's supposed to be. I read Frankie's book and I've implemented a lot, but something was missing. This something is what Dan Kennedy explains, that the best, it's the offer, stupid. And sure as shit, he's completely right. I totally forgot to let the offer do the heavy lifting. For a long time, I've wondered what an offer really is and how it looks like when implemented. I guess the brain fog took over. Well, brain fog no more. It's just literally so clear now that I feel stupid. Although I haven't put my new offer to work yet, it still makes so much sense that actually wrapping my head around what it is means to have an irresistible offer. It feels like I discovered fire for the first time. Risk reversal is powerful stuff, and hopefully is going to be the fuel that fuels my agency to new groundbreaking heights. Random thoughts from Norway. My dude, welcome to the club of realizing it's about the offer. I'm doing my like Randy Orton pose. Is that Randy Orton? Anyway. Again, I'd like to just reiterate, the Facebook tells me that comments are there, but doesn't refresh the feed, so I can see that you guys are making them. I just don't see them, but I promise I will respond after in text. So a lot of things about this offer. So a lot of people think offer equals risk reversal. It is a piece, it is a tool, and I share your struggle. So I probably about 12 years ago, I started to recognize it was the offer, and I'll tell you how I recognized it. I started going to masterminds and events and meeting people and shaking hands, and I remember I would always go to the most successful person in the room and be like, how did you do it? And it drove me crazy because like 2-3 years, everybody said, oh, it was when we got our offer dialed in. That was when shit really took off. And I would say to them, okay, how did you come up with that offer? Like, give me your process for coming up with a really cool offer. And nobody could tell me. It drove me fucking crazy because I was like, man, I get that it's the offer, but nobody could tell me. I'll tell you the biggest missing piece from most agency offers, and I'm actually writing about this in version 3.0 Beyond the Agency Box right now. Okay? The missing piece from most people's offer is specificity and then ease. Okay, so let me tell you what I mean by that. Let's break those down into 2 pieces. So let's talk about the first piece, specificity. Okay, being specific prints cash. Being unspecific does the opposite. So if, for example, if you run an ad that says, dear athlete, we can improve your athletics, you are going to make far, far less money and get far, far less clients to convert is if you run an ad that says, dear left-handed golfer with a slice. Why? Because athlete is broad, and therefore, because it's so broad, you can't really promise anything specifically or specific or meaningful. If you focus on a left-handed golfer with a slice, the promise almost writes itself. You hit the fucking ball straight, right? So what's missing from most people is they're just saying more leads, more sales, more customers, and they're not specific about which types of customers, which types of leads, why they are bringing them those specific people. So for example, I got friends who are online coaches. Many of them have like $7 ebooks, and many of them have $40,000 masterminds. Which one of those things do you think they would rather sell? $7 ebook? $40,000 mastermind? Clearly the $40,000 thing, right? So, to me, if I'm making a promise, it's not, we're going to get you more leads and more sales and more customers and more. I don't know, Frankie Finn's more important. I'm going to help you sell your $40,000 ABC mastermind specific. So, there's thing number one that is missing from most people's recipe. Second thing is ease, and I'm going into this to layer. So, I think the lowest level of value is a tool or a service, and the highest value is sales. And there are many sort of like rungs on the ladder between them. So if you got a service, okay, and you just sell it as a service, hey, we do SEO, we do pay-per-click, we do web design, hire us and we'll make you a website. That's going to be the lowest paid rung on the ladder. There is a rung past that called leads, which are just opportunities, right? Why is that low paid? Because most businesses don't know what to do with opportunities once they get them, right? They don't answer the phone. They don't call people back. They can't answer basic questions. They don't know how to close. They take fucking forever to get back to people. So leads are only so valuable. Then there is like what I would call like specific leads, right? Like talking about the coach. I'll get you leads. It's not the same as I will get you leads for your $40,000 mastermind. Then there's a level past that where we're qualifying people. So qualifying is like you make them jump through an extra hoop or an extra step to make sure they're actually the right fit. Right? So like it might be a live transfer. Hey, before we pass them off to your front desk, we talk to them first and make sure they're a fit. And then there's a level past that called specific qualified leads. So a specific qualified lead is like a, hey, this is a person who's interested in your $40,000 mastermind, and we had them give a $100 deposit to make sure they're serious about like potentially considering it. Okay. Then there's a tier past that where I call face-to-face. One might call these booked appointments, but I prefer to think about it as face-to-face. I will get you a face-to-face opportunity is more valuable than I'll just get you a lead, I'll get you a call, or I'll get you a form fill. And again, if you're specific about who you get them, I'll get you a face-to-face with somebody who has your $40,000 mastermind and has put down a $100 deposit is going to be even more valuable than we just sell your thing. And ultimately, the highest level is sales. And I'm kind of like, this is what we're kind of pioneering in the Wolfpack. I think most client things, especially those clients who don't have variable pricing, meaning like they just got a thing like a music class where it's $99 a month, I think it's actually easier to sell their thing on a website than it is to try and generate a lead or opportunity. And it's a totally different promise. I think about Lana, who got me this awesome shirt. And Lana was in the yoga space generating leads where she would get people to come in for, or call about a free class. And she found out that they can't even sell a free class. That's how bad they are. They don't answer the phone. They don't know what to say. And so what she eventually figured out was, why don't we just sell their shit right on the website? And now people sign up for the $99 a month. She has not heard we have a bad lead. That is a far more desirable offer. The, hey, I'll get you opportunities was down here. I'll just bring you fucking sales. Right? So if you really want to enhance your offer, try and be as close to the sales. Now, for those of you guys who have variable pricing, you probably can't do that, right? Like if it's a home service kind of thing where they must drive out there and give a quote, you can at least get that person a qualified face-to-face. And that is going to make your offer more valuable. And all you're doing is just maybe adding a calendar and a landing page where they book, and then like some like notification things and like go high level, right? So we're not talking about like it's a completely new service, but you're making it easier for them. And I'll tell you, that is the thing that is missing from most people's offer. It is not the over-the-top guarantee. They're simply not specific enough about who it's for and what it will bring them. And they're selling the lowest rungs on the ladder instead of the highest rungs on the ladder. So the more I can say, like, I think of Tony T, who's in our group. Tony T's probably made about like 5 figures on partnership deals and is about to launch a book called Partners Not or Deals Not Deals Over Clients. And Tony picks his partners and just goes, "I'll just bring you sales. I just want a commission for every sale I bring you." Like, is that not the ultimate easy to say yes to offer? You're going to go sell my expensive thing, and I just got to deal with the people, and I just got to pay you a commission after the sale? Easy yes. Easiest of all easy yeses. So if you want to make your shit more valuable, get more specific, sell higher on the ladder, as close to the sales as you can be. And by the way, I think most things are actually easier to sell over a landing page or a website than they are over the phone. My personal opinion, after having done this for like 5-6 years. So anyways, I hope that's helpful. I hope that like really helps you guys get clear about how to take your offers to the next level. Last one we got is Artyom, who says, I have a question, Frankie. Have you run offers that are entirely commission-based for lead gen? I mean completely commission-based. It would mean no retainer and we pay for the ads, then charge the client for the lead provided. This sounds like a very seductive offer in my head. Obviously, there's a lot of risk on my side. Bad idea. I believe there's something on this in the book, but the memory isn't fresh. So yes, we have done that. By the way, one of the things I pride myself on is a lot of the shit that is popular in the agency space now, I tried 10 years before it was cool. Right? Like before, so there's a name for what you were talking about, and Dan Wardrobe has a whole community around it. It is called pay per lead. So with pay per lead, there are a couple prerequisites that you have to have in place to make pay per lead work. One of those is you have to have ran the campaigns before so that you have a fairly good idea of pricing and what it will cost, because otherwise you will lose your shirt if you're paying for the ads. So for me, I would prefer to have run the ads at least in 5 markets on a retainer, knowing, like, for example, when we ran our motorcycle case lead, I knew that no matter which market I ran those leads in, and we're talking just like form fills and opt-ins and stuff, but I knew that those were going to cost me about $10-12. Like market to market. So I could turn around and say to a client, I'll get you motorcycle case leads for $40 a pop. And no, I'm not going to lose money when I run those ads. In fact, I know I'm probably going to make $25 to $28 every single time we get a new contact. And then I would say, hey, we'll even nurture those leads for you until the point where they call you. Right? So yes, there's a whole model now. Now, whenever you get in these commission-based partnerships, and this is what, I'm going deeper on this in Beyond the Agency Box version 3.0, is there is a large segment of our market that says, don't do partnerships, they're too risky, you're going to do all this work, and you're not going to get paid, and stuff like that. And there are certainly those risks. And the answer to that, by the way, is learning to manage those risks, not never doing partnerships. Because the flip side of that is, like, we had a guy in our mastermind who had a $1.4 million week, not month, with 1 client and 1 partnership. Show me anyone ever who's done that in a retainer. I'm going to call you a fucking liar. I'm not saying it's never been done, but it is rare. As with partnerships, the upside is you can do $1 million plus with 1 partner in a fucking week, because you created $1 million result for them, and therefore it is worth it for the right person. So having said that, we want to be intelligent about managing the risk. So I'll tell you firstly, who does not make a good fit for pay per lead? The broke people in your industry who have no existing sales process. They are happy to do pay per lead because it takes all of the risk off of them, but you won't make any money with those people, because all you'll find out is they don't know how to close any of the leads you got. This is one of the things I wish I knew when we started doing rank and rent and doing pay per lead and renting those things, like, I don't know, like 12, 13 years ago, Dan and I. You still have to know how to pick the clients, because otherwise they just they order 10 leads from you and they cancel it. You still have the same problem you have with a retainer. So who does make the right fit for a pay per lead? And it's going to sound really simple when I say it. But this is not what people do in practice. They have to already know how to sell their thing before you showed up. So, for example, we did this in the roofing space. This is somebody who does not make a good fit for pay-per-lead. A single roofer who spends most of his day on a roof, drives around, drinks a lot, and occasionally picks up the phone, but doesn't know what to say, is kind of winging it and making up when he goes along. Never, ever do it with that guy. Flip side of that is there are roofing companies who have branded trucks, meaning they got like a wrap around the truck. They are dressed professional. They have a salesperson or sometimes many salespeople. They have a systematic way of giving quotes. They have a CRM. They have a follow-up process. They can even tell you their numbers in that process. That is an ideal candidate for a pay-per-lead scenario. So you do not want to do this and then try to have to like build somebody's sales process from nothing. The opposite of that is you want to do this for people who really are already successful, already making money, and simply add to what they are doing. If you stick to that, you will generally succeed in these pay-per-lead engagements. So I would suggest just make sure you know your numbers, because the flip side of, okay, yeah, you can do work and not get paid, and that's true. If you do 5 pay-per-lead deals, you might not make any money on 2 of those. Flip side of that is you can easily do $30,000, $50,000, $80,000 a month with one client. I'm not saying that can't be done with retainer, but it is a lot harder ask to say, pay me $80,000 and then I'll go get you a result, versus let me get you a result, and every time I bring you a result, I just want a fee for doing it. It's a lot easier to get $80,000 a month in that kind of arrangement. So that is my rant on that. Is yes, pay-per-lead can be awesome, but you have to know your numbers and you have to know who makes a good partner. And by the way, I wish I knew this, but that criteria I gave you over who makes a good pay-per-lead or pay-per-performance partner is also the same criteria of what makes for a good retainer client. Because if you try and run it for the broke, no sales process client, they will inevitably cancel on your retainer and say, this shit is not working, the leads are bad, this is no good, all you marketers are scammers. The flip side of that is, if they have their lead and sales process in order, then it will make sense for them to continue on a retainer. So it's up to you. Maybe those of you guys who are in the beginning stages, you want the guaranteed money of a retainer. I consider a retainer, the longer I do this, which is what 98% of our industry does, I consider it like a middle class salary. Because if you think about a salary at a company, you can have a good salary, but when the company 10X's, like, you don't 10X your fucking salary with it. Partnership deals are like when you win, I win. When you get a bigger pie, I win. And I want a share of the results. And so in a lot of ways, it's like owning a company, and that's risky and scary for most people. But the flip side of it is when it works and when you engineer it so that it works, you get big fucking fees that are not possible in the middle class world. Same way, like, if you went to the company and said, hey, instead of paying me $80,000 a year in benefits as a salary, I just want to be responsible for growing this company. And if I can make you an extra $1 million, I want $150,000 for every extra million I add. Would you be open to that? And if you help that company make $10 million and get $1.5 million, that's what you're going to make way more money than the $80,000 salary. Ironically, you may be doing the same actual function in both roles. The difference is, in one scenario, you're asking the company to take all the risk. In the other scenario, you're open to taking the risk on yourself. So again, you have to manage that risk. And here's how you manage that risk intelligently. Run a deal with your target prospect for like 7 or 14 days. And it'll be obvious within 2 weeks whether or not this is going to be a bigger client you guys are going to do a bunch of stuff with, or whether or not it's going to work. So never invest more than a few hours of your time and a few, thousand on the highest side to a few $100s on the small side to find out whether or not this is going to be a good fit. And if you do that, it's very easy to say, hey, like, I thought we were going to crush it, but looks like we're not going to. So I'm out. So I hope that helps you guys, because Performance deals are fucking awesome, but most people don't know how to pick them. And most people, by the way, don't know how to pick retainer clients either. So this is why retainer clients like often just cancel 2-3 months later and go, all the leads are bad because you didn't know how to pick the right person. It's just more obvious when you put all the risk on yourself who that person is, because you have to have that dialed in or there is no paycheck. Again, they have to have a sales process. One of my go-to questions to find out, what CRM do you use to manage all your sales leads? If they go, CRM? What's a CRM? Run. If they go, oh, we use JobWise or whatever, like they can give you an answer, these are our numbers, that's a good sign. They can tell you what they use and what their numbers are, that's a good sign. So anyways, that's all the questions I can see. I can see we got a bunch of comments, but I can't actually read them. For those of you guys who missed the intro, we got tiers of working with a brother, all the good stuff you guys have been asking me about, Loom videos, how to close on them, how we write our messages. If you guys want additional support and coaching with scaling, we got stuff down there. Tons of resources and communities and stuff that we've been building, as well as for a small percentage of you, I'm interested in working. In one of those arrangements, we talked about one-on-one in a sort of partnership kind of fashion. So that's all I got for you guys in this video. Appreciate you guys. Happy Monday. I'm a tired old man, so I'm probably going to go back to bed. Much love for you guys. May the force be with you, and have an awesome week.
Hey guys, if you like this video, you may also like my best-selling book here, Beyond the Agency Box. It is all about scaling a digital marketing agency while eliminating meetings and phone calls. We actually sell our stuff phoneless. We don't have any client meetings, and we also hire our team entirely without meeting phone calls, which allows us to, like actually kind of live a life. I've laid out the entire blueprint in everything you need to know, getting clients, onboarding, setting expectations, scaling, building a team, you name it. It has been a bestseller on Amazon now for over 5 straight years, but now you can get it even cheaper than you can get it on Amazon. So I can't tell you the exact price because it may change when this video is released, but there should be a link to it below, either in the description of the video or as well as a pinned comment. So if you're interested in that, check out that video and you can get a copy for super cheap.